Woo! Hello board game brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know of Kickstarters launching this week. If you're new to the channel, thanks for being here and thanks for checking it out. I usually offer 4 different types of videos on this channel. The first one being this video where I go into different Kickstarters that are being launched in the next 7 days. I also provide this in written form on Reddit, which I'll leave a link to in the description below if you want to check that out. Paired with this video, I'll be releasing a second video that goes into the different campaigns that I backed last week. And then I also release the occasional deep dive covering all the info on that campaign. And then lastly, release painting tutorial videos where I go through a fast motion painting of a specific miniature for a specific game. Right now I'm working my way through 𝗚𝗺𝗟𝗀𝗀𝘀, so definitely check that out if you're interested or just want to see a miniature come to life. And I also wanted to mention that the Shelf Clutter Patreon has just received its first patron. So I've been thinking of some different ways to give back to that community as it grows. So right now I'm going to be posting a weekly post there going into the next 2 weeks. So anyone joining the first tier or higher there can get that info in advance. And I guess now is a good time to thank anyone who's supported this channel in any way that they have, whether it's checking out these videos from time to time, subscribing, liking, leaving a comment, or even sharing this content with their own community. It's really awesome that this community is helping each other out as much as they are, and I'm glad to be on the receiving end of that as well. And I can't even begin to thank you all for your support. So thanks a lot for doing everything that you have, and I really appreciate it. With that said, let's check out the Kickstarters. And the first game I have for you releases on July 14th, and it's called 𝗚𝗺𝗃 the Filmmaking board game. And this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 30 to 90 minutes to play. And in this game, you're a struggling production company with its last chance to make it big. When I first saw this game, I thought it was a party game, but it turns out it's actually a cooperative dice worker placement game, and it incorporates resource management with a central puzzle that you're all going to be working together to try and complete. The central puzzle represents your shooting arrangement, and the dice represent your crew, and you're going to be assigning them to different actions on the main board or on an individual board that each player can manage on their own. At the start of each player's turn, they draw a problem card that all players must overcome, and then they're going to perform their actions and progress the schedule. There's a board that tracks how much money is available in your budget and how much time is available in your schedule. If either one of those runs out before you complete your video, you lose the game. On top of that, if the quality of your video just isn't high enough, well, you lose for that as well. This game actually looks like it has quite a lot of interesting decisions under the playful theme, and something that I think is really fun about this is you are actually building up your storyboard as you play the game, and players will be able to interpret this at the end of their game to describe the movie that they made. And the next game I have for you is also being released on the 14th, and it's called Harry's Place, and it looks like this plays 4 players, but I'm not quite sure. This one is not on BGG. But in this game, you are a lead server in a Sasquatch-owned restaurant deep in the Rocky Mountains. This is a worker placement game where you're going to have different monsters showing up to your restaurant, and it's going to be up to you to try and feed them as quickly as possible, because each round they're going to get less and less satisfied with the service, potentially even losing the customer completely, but more likely just leaving you a smaller tip. Tips in this game come in the form of what else than chocolate chip cookies. These cookies act as victory points for the end of the game, but you can also share them with the chefs to try and get your orders sooner. If you know anything about me, you know I'm a fan of these silly themes, but I'd choose peanut butter cookies over chocolate chip any day. So I just wanted to jump back to this one and mention that it could have been my pick of the week. This game actually does look like a lot of fun, but I couldn't find enough info on it. This game's not on BGG, and I know this is from a new publisher, so maybe they haven't quite figured out all the best practices yet, but publishers, make sure you're getting your games on BGG because it's where gamers like us and reviewers go to check out and find more info about your game. And you should really be asking your playtesters to leave a rating and comment on BGG if they're comfortable with that, especially as a new publisher, because it really gives credibility to the game that you're creating here. Anyone who's making a pledge on Kickstarter is taking on a lot of risk because we don't know if that game is any good or even if we'll end up getting that game at all. As a publisher, and especially as a new publisher, you want to be doing whatever you can to be as transparent as possible and alleviate that risk so that we can have confidence in our pledge. Get your game up on BGG. It looks awesome. I hope it's awesome. If it is, you want to be letting people know. I'm looking forward to the campaign. And the next game I've talked about before, but it looks like it got postponed to this week, and it's called The Night Cage. And in this game, you awaken in the dark, your skin cold and your mind blank. You have nothing but fear, a flickering candle, and a question. How long will your light last? And this is a cooperative game where all the players are going to be working together to try and escape the labyrinth. The thing that makes this tricky is that your light only lights up a certain number of tiles around you. And as soon as a tile goes out of the diameter of your light, that tile will change if you try to go back to it. So you're in a maze that's constantly changing, and on top of that, there's monsters hiding in every corner. Each player has to find their own key in order to escape, and then you all have to escape together by finding the exit in the tunnel. And the next game I have for you is a party game, and it plays 4 to 10 players and takes 30 to 120 minutes to play, and it's called Top Tail: Get to Know Your Fellow Humans. And in this game, players are going to be drawing different cards that have different questions on them that players are going to have to answer. So it might be, how would you spend $1 million? Who's the most interesting person you met? Or what's the scariest place you've ever been? Players get points for answering these questions, but also for answering them in the most entertaining way. The point of this game is clear, as the title says, to get to know your fellow humans. If I had $1 million, I would make a lot more of these videos. I'd buy all the Kickstarters I missed out on at their ridiculous secondhand prices, and every game night would start with all-you-can-eat sushi. So what would you do with $1 million? Let me know in the comment section below. The next game I have for you, also on the 14th, is a 2-player game called With a Smile and a Gun. And in this game, each player is a gang leader in the Prohibition era, and they're going to be competing to lay low from the police, grow their business, and take control of the city. At the start of each round, 13 dice are rolled, and players take turns drafting the dice, using 1 for movement and 1 for an action. After each player has gone 3 times, you tally points based on area majority and continue on to the next round. The player who attracted the least attention gets a bonus scheming action, and the player with the most points at the end of 3 rounds wins the game. And the next game I have for you is called Steven Universe Beach-a-Palooza Card Battling Game, and this plays 3 to 6 players. It takes about 45 to 60 minutes to play. And in this game, each player is going to be taking on the role of a Steven, building up their band and trying to put on a really awesome rock concert. But this isn't going to be easy, because very evil villains are going to be showing up trying to ruin the fun. This game incorporates card drafting to recruit characters to your stage or audience to generate different effects. The different characters you have on stage can perform different fusions, which combine them into a super powerful being that can help fight back against the party crashers. The player that puts on the best show while fighting off these party crashers wins the game. And I do recognize the designers of this game. I don't know how to say their name. I've never actually had to pronounce their names before, so I'm sorry, Erica, I'm not going to get this right. Erica Erica Boyoris and Andrew Wolf, Erica B, and Andrew W. Erica's worked on games like Boss, Kodama 3D, and Scott Pilgrim the Miniatures game, and Andrew Wolf's designed games like Thanos Rising, Munchkin Adventure Time, and Hogwarts Battle. So this game is based on the Steven Universe IP, which is a cartoon on the Cartoon Network, and this entire campaign is Kickstarter exclusive, so if you're interested in it, this is your only chance to get it. These designers have a great track record, and I bet this is going to be a fun little game, so check it out if you're interested, and don't miss out. So I just want to stop here and mention that if you like this content and you're planning to buy a game, check out kickstartergames.com, because any sales made there, a small portion will come back and help out this channel. And if you subscribe to their newsletter on their website, you'll also be automatically entered in monthly giveaways. And this month's giveaway is High Rise, a game of construction and corruption for 1 to 4 players. There's new games added all the time, many of which include Kickstarter exclusives, and they also buy games. So if you're looking to get rid of something in your collection, check it out. It's called kickstartergames.com. The next game I have for you is also being released on the 14th, and it's called Whale Riders, and this plays 2 to 6 players and takes 30 to 45 minutes to play. And in this game, your people and the whales have lived together in harmony for generations. Together, you've bought and traded across the entire ice coast. But the ice is thickening and the glaciers are moving, so you're going to have to sell as much as you can before the winter freezes over. So this is another game that features some familiar names. We have Reiner Knizia as the designer, and the artist is Vincent Dutrait. This is the same team that released Medici, but Reiner Knizia also released games such as Amun-Re and Lost Cities. Vincent Dutrait's done a lot of different artwork, and you might know some of his art from Robin Crusoe, 𝗚𝗺𝗃, and The Quest for El Dorado. He also did Mythic Battles Pantheon. Cool. So Whale Riders is a racing game where players are competing to collect the most pearls. Each player can perform 2 actions on their turn, and they can choose from sailing, buying, selling, or drawing more order cards. You're going to have to make the decision if you want to be fighting for the leader of the pack, scooping up all those pearls along the way, or if you want to hold back and invest a little bit more time in those big scores that the other players passed right by. This game has simple and short rules, but claims to offer a lot of interaction and interesting decisions for all the players. And the next game I have for you is also being released on the 14th, and it's called Jiangshi, Blood in the Banquet Hall. And this is actually a tabletop RPG, which means it combines elements of your typical RPG with gameplay elements that you might find in a tabletop game. In this game, players take on the role of a Chinese family running a restaurant in the 1920s of Chinatown. During the day, you're going to be faced with oppression and the stress of managing the restaurant during this time. But everything changes at night because on top of all that, you're going to be faced with vampires that are coming out to attack. This game is going to alternate between night and day, creating different environments for you to interact in, and it typically lasts over 5 in-game days. If you're interested in a different take on the RPG genre, definitely check this one out. And the last game I have for you for the 14th is called Dollars to Donuts, and this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play. And this game is being created by the same team that brought you games like Calico and Point Salad. So this is a tile laying game, but there's very few rules to restrict you on how you have to lay your tiles. Your ultimate goal is to match donuts of the same type, and this is going to get you victory points. But you can also match donuts that don't match, which are going to gain you dollars. The funny thing is you can also have your tiles go completely off the board, and that's fine too. You're going to be spending those dollars to gain more tiles, to complete more donuts, to gain more victory points. There's going to be different customers that are going to be wanting different combinations of donuts that you're going to be trying to fulfill, and you can also target different neighborhoods to decide where those points are coming from. Different neighborhoods are going to give you different bonuses at the end of the game, and the game ends when a player has completely filled up their display. So this game does look fairly light, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be fun, and I think this is going to do a great job of achieving what it's trying to, and for that reason, it's my pick of the week. But not just that reason, because I also took a look at BGG, and the few little comments that were there look like the playtesters really enjoyed playing this one. And if you check out their Kickstarter page, this game is only $29, which is hard to argue with. The theme for this one is going to make it very accessible for any player group along with new players, so I think this is one that will definitely succeed in making your guests happy and hungry. So just to put this in perspective, I've actually paid more than that for donuts from the local donut shop around here. And I'll probably be doing that again soon because they're really good. And the next game I have for you is also launching on the 14th, and it's called The Werewolf of Rivers End. And this plays 2 to 5 players and takes 60 to 90 minutes to play. And this is actually a hidden movement game where one player is taking on the role of an injured werewolf while the rest of the players take on an angry mob trying to put that werewolf down. The players playing as the townsfolk are in control of setting up the game, and then the werewolf has to survive and scavenge in that environment while leaving behind traces of bloody bandages, scarred residents, and frightened creatures. While scavenging, the werewolf's also going to be looking for different landmarks in order to gain their bearings, survive the night, and escape the angry mob. Each player playing as the townsfolk is going to have different abilities, weapons, and the ability to set different traps, and their goal is to try and track their werewolf and put it down. And the next game I have for you is called Gangs of the Undercity, and this is a cyberpunk fantasy miniature skirmish war game that plays 2 to 6 players and takes about 45 to 90 minutes to play. So this game is going to have a few different modes of play. 2 or more players can battle in the traditional war game format, or you can enter into the story with the campaign scenarios. This game is going to feature 28mm miniatures, and it looks like it might also include some laser cut buildings. And this is all going to take place in a world where magic is competing against technology. And the last game I have for you releases on the 16th, and it's called Daimyo, Rebirth of an Empire. And this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play. So this game takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where clans are living according to the reinterpretation of the Bushido. Each player is taking on the role of a daimyo leading their own clan, fighting to become the emperor of the land. You're going to be recruiting different heroes, gaining popularity, uncovering relics, and trying to not get assassinated along the way. This game incorporates area control, hand management, and dice rolling. You're going to gain popularity based on the influence that you've gained, the relics you've found, the buildings created, along with the amount of gold you've accumulated, along with the size of your army. The player with the most popularity at the end of the game wins the game. Definitely a lot of interesting games launching this week. I was expecting it to be a little bit slower after last week, but it looks like no sign of slowing down. Make sure to check out my separate video to see what I backed last week, and I'll leave a link to that in a few seconds. Until next time, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full.